Welcome back. In this video, we're going to implement this functionality that you see here. So first of all, a little green button with a calculator text underneath. And once I click on it, it will open up this new activity called Calculate BMI, or at least BMI Calculator or something like that. I'm going to call this activity just BMI because that's going to be descriptive enough for our purposes. So let's get started. Therefore, the first thing that I'm going to add are going to be a couple of UI elements here. So what I will do is I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to copy this frame layout that I had created already for our circle here, you see, because it's basically the same thing that we want to achieve, right? We want to have a circle with a text inside of it. The circle should be smaller and the background should be different, but the same, well, the rest is the same basically. So let's give this a different name. Let's call this one FLBMI, and then accordingly this text view, let me double check. Well, let's leave it as it is. Actually, let me get rid of this constraint here and replace it with bottom to bottom of parent and top to top of parent as well. And then we can make changes once we need them. So in our FLBMI here, I want this to be underneath my FL start. Okay, so top to bottom of FL start. Then it should be bottom to bottom of the parent as well. Okay, so it should drag towards the parent. I want to have a different background color. So I'm just going to use my accent background, which I had created earlier, which is this circle, right? Can you recall? It was this shape, just a green circle. All right, and now we just need to change its size. So I'm going to go with 70 density pixels for width and height in both directions. And then the text view inside of it will just display a different text. So it will just display BMI. Okay, and then I need another text view underneath this frame layout. So if we look at it, this is the BMI that we're currently getting. Oh, actually, let me change the color of my BMI here as well. So of this text view, I want to use white as the color. Okay, because I think brown or gray and green doesn't look as good. So now let's add another text view underneath here. And I'm just going to say that it should be underneath the BMI frame layout. It will have the text of calculator. We'll use the green color 22SP and will be bold. And by the way, we could of course use this button size text default setting here as well if we wanted to. Okay, and now let's look at the design and we can see we have this BMI plus the calculator text here underneath. Now, once we click on this frame layout BMI, I want to start a new activity and I want to open this activity that we're going to create. Let me call it BMI activity. And let's call this activity BMI, this layout. Okay, activity underscore BMI. And now, what do we want to have inside of this activity BMI? Well, I just want to have the toolbar in there. Okay, so let me go over to activity BMI and change it. So for now, I'm going to use a relative layout in here. We can change it later on if we will need to, but a relative layout will be fine. The orientation should be vertical. And so thing is, this layout is empty for now, right? The only thing that I want to have for now is going to be the toolbar, and we will later see what we want to do with it. Okay, so match parent, and the height should be the height of an action bar. Okay, so here we need to use Android :attr dot action bar size or slash action bar size, as we've done before. Okay, and then I'm going to give it a white background. Like so. Now let's just give it an ID. So here ID will be toolbar underscore BMI underscore activity. Okay. So that's our activity BMI looks as of now. Let's see how the BMI activity will be set up. So here we need to use binding. So let's set up the activity binding here, activity BMI binding for it to be used. So let's import it. Then we need to set the binding object. So here binding, initialize it with activity binding inflate layout inflator, as we have done before. Then we need to set this to be the root of the binding. So binding.root. You see many things, they really just repeat and repeat. It's always the same when working with activities. And then I want to use the action bar. Okay, and we have used action bar in the exercise activity, for example. So here, let's just copy this entire part here. There will be one minor change, however. So setup action bar will be supported, and we need to bind the action bar. And therefore I will need to set support action bar. Like so, use my binding object, binding toolbar BMI activity. And let me see, I forgot to copy this part of here. Okay, so now we need to set this stuff up, and our toolbar, how do we call it? We call it toolbar BMI activity, and it should call the on back pressed method. Okay. Now what you can do is you can change the name of the title of the support action bar. Okay, support action bar title is, for example, a property that you can override, and this is a nullable, so we need to add the question mark here. And I could just say something like calculate BMI. And now let's see how this is going to look like. So this shows you that you can override properties of your support action bar directly in your Kotlin code. So there we are. Okay, let's finish this. Let's go over to the BMI calculator, and of course it doesn't happen yet. Let me go over to the main activity and actually make it possible so that we can click on this BMI button, which is internally, of course, not a real button, but instead is a frame layout. So here, instead of using FL start, I'm going to use BMI, and the intent should move us to the BMI activity. And that's pretty much it, I believe. So now let's run it again. You see, I just copied my old on-click listener for the FL start, and now I should be good. So clicking on it sends us over to the calculate BMI activity. And now we can, of course, set up everything that we need in here, where we can then actually calculate our BMI based on our size or height, better said, and weight. Okay, so see you in the next video, where we're going to prep the user interface for it.